For God, for country, for truth, for justice, for the Republic. You're listening to the Powder Monkey Podcast on PirateInfoWars.com. Welcome to episode 27 of the Powder Monkey Podcast. And they say that the stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. But tonight, the ladies that I have coming on tonight are from the epicenter of the American Liberty Movement, the 1776 worldwide spirit. So I want to tell their story. I want to give them a chance to come on and just basically just have a discussion. So they are the Liberty Ladies of Texas. I screwed that up, but it doesn't matter. I have no journalistic integrity. I'm great. So they are Yecca and Racheal Ray. Ladies, welcome. Thank you for coming on the Powder Monkey Podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. Yeah,
absolutely. So let's start at the beginning. Talk about how the movement came about. Again, like I said, you are at the epicenter. So talk about how the Liberty Ladies of Texas, came into being.
Yeah, so we met through some mutual friends. And, we just started hanging out over time, and we had a lot of similar beliefs. We shared a lot of the same ideas and things like that. And so after the election, I felt like it was finally time to get out there and just kind of do my own thing. And Racheal and I were hanging out one day, and, I feel like God just told me to invite her on. And so I was just like, hey, do you want to join me? I'm going to start doing this.
And I was like, oh my God, I've been kind of hesitant around getting behind the camera or getting in front of the camera. I'm sorry. And so I was like, I've been wanting to do this for a while. And I've been telling, my friends, like, I'm going to start something soon, but I never really started anything.
Yeah, same here. It was something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but, like a lot of us, we're scared to speak up, kind of say things. We don't want to hurt other people's feelings. We don't want to offend anybody.
And we don't want to give misinformation either,
But since the election had happened, I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I need to speak my mind. I need to get out there. I need to put out my own content. It was something that we both wanted to do for a long time. So, of course, she was on board, and you were going out of town that weekend, right? And so she was going out of town, but I was in town, and as soon as she said yeah, I was just like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And the first thing we
Right.
did was come up with the name, and we're both native Texans. We're both born and raised here in Texas. The name, is the first thing. It's the easiest thing, but it's the first step you got to do. And as soon as we came up with Liberty Ladies of Texas, I jumped the gun and I set us up with all social media accounts. We're on Facebook, we're on everything right now. We're not banned anywhere yet. And I even got us a website going, and I got everything set up for us over the weekend.
Overnight. I mean,
yeah, it was overnight. And
Right.
I was so excited. Like, I was literally ready. I've been wanting to do this like her. I was like telling all my friends, oh, I'm going to start a page, a YouTube, and just never got around to it. But, since the election happened, I was just like, now is the time. Like, it's definitely not the time to be silent. We definitely need to speak our mind. And, for me, I think staying silent is just as bad, if not worse, than, the opposition.
Sure. Well, I mean, silence is complacency. If you're silent about it, then you really have no right to to bitch about it when it's taken from you. And
Right.
so I agree with that. Yeah, and I've had a few of those long nights hammering away at a keyboard, refreshing your browser to see what it looks like, and you finally get something. I mean,
The name was definitely fun to play with. She had actually come up with the name, right off the bat, I think. And we were like, oh, I don't know. Because she was Lady Liberty for a Halloween party that we went to. And I was a party police. And so
Like Liberty
she
and
looked
Justice,
so good
right.
in that costume, and so it just made sense. And we played around with other things, but it felt right, and so we just pushed forward with it. And definitely a big thank you to you for being so persistent in getting those websites and things launched. And I contribute to whatever. I'm not savvy on the Instagram and stuff, so she handles the Instagram account, and I'm very
and I didn't even have a Twitter, but she had a Twitter, so she does all the Twitter.
So it kind of works.
Everything has just been working out really perfectly. We really balance each other out amazingly well. They couldn't have, I couldn't have picked a better person to start this out with. And, and we just really complete each other perfectly here.
I want to talk about the camera work for a minute, because that's. Are you shooting that, Racheal? Are you doing the
we both
walkthrough?
do a lot of shooting. She does most of the editing, though. Yeah.
That's good. When we hit DC for the first Million Mega March, it was like no sleep. We were crammed into a rental car, and we just hauled ass up and back, and it was. My phone on a tripod as high up as I could get it, trying to get it around. And yeah, I mean, but you do really well. That's your production quality is fantastic.
Thank you.
The product you all bring, the finished product, it's both really strong. The costume's great. I'm thinking about getting my co-host a monkey costume, a gorilla costume, and a pirate hat, and I don't know, some wild turkey, and we're going to see where that goes here in West Virginia with some signs.
It's definitely a big hit, the costume. She wears we try to go to all of the Stop the Steal rallies here in Austin every Saturday that we can. And any time that we're out of town, we're always looking, that weekend, the first weekend that we kicked it off, I went to South Texas to Harlingen area, and I was on my phone looking for a Trump rally or a something that I could attend, that I could get coverage on. And it's just kind of like it's almost like storm chasers, looking for like
absolutely it is
like the energy that you get from it, and looking for these, looking to get somebody's voice, like our voice, of course. But where's everyone else? Because if you don't, like she was saying, if you don't do that, then they think everyone is silent and there's no one on the opposition. And there are a ton. I mean, South Texas, I was sending her photos. I went again this past weekend of billboards that are all the way, like huge Trump billboards that are just lined up on the side of the highway. I mean, it's insane the support that he has out there.
I was going to ask you about something I saw earlier. Where is Mueller in respect to where you all are? I saw I think a tweet maybe or a Facebook post come across my feed about somebody was triggered because of the word joy or Noel. No, I'm sorry, it was Noel.
Oh, wow.
It was a totally,
Mueller?
Yeah, Mueller.
Like,
yeah.
That's like East Austin area, right?
I'm
or is
not
that a city?
super familiar with
Yeah, I'm not
where
sure if
Mueller
it's a
is,
city
but
or
I did hear
there's
that story.
I'm like, wow, there's the everybody being so just want to get along with everybody, but we trigger on the word Noel. I mean, it blows.
We're triggered on the cross. There was a story
Absolutely.
recently of the
I wonder
Homeowners
if we'll go.
Association.
I wonder if we'll go back to covering crosses when we go into churches now. If the worst absolutely happens, I wonder if that will be a practice that's taken back up, because you remember, Barry, he would go in and the crosses would be covered. So that's something that.
Well, you just wait wait for Easter. Let's
Well,
just wait and see what happens with Easter.
Well, you know what? I still believe that we're just going to have to see what happens. There's a long way still between now. So let's talk about let's get off that for a second. Let's go back to what you all were doing and the impact that so far that you've made. I mean, you're right. It's. I saw Alex Jones get just censored in one fell swoop in a weekend. I was on the back end of the Discus forums when they crashed. I saw it. I saw him just go away. So what impact are you making now on the social media world, where you can yell and scream, but they dial you back and only a few people are going to see you and things like that? Where are you at now? And at the end of this, when this is all over and we can breathe hopefully freely again, what do you hope to have achieved? What do you want to be known for with this movement?
So definitely something that I've seen on our social media in regards to the impact that we've had on others is that we've kind of inspired other people to also be outspoken. I've even seen some people on my personal Instagram page posting more political things, and they message me saying, you inspired me to do this. I was really scared to speak out, before I wouldn't normally do this, but since seeing you and following you ladies movement, and it's just really inspired me to speak out about my beliefs and talk about these truths that are actually going on. And just a lot of us have been in that same boat. We were scared to speak out. We didn't want to offend anybody else. We didn't want to start arguments. I think that's the main thing.
I did want to yell at people.
She didn't want to start arguments, but for a lot of people, they don't want to start arguments and cause fights, especially with family members and lifelong friends.
Yeah.
But
I was cutting videos of InfoWar videos, trying to just get a video out there on social media that people can see, whatever attention it brought, as long as it got them curious enough to kind of look into what's going on. What is this? Who's this Alex Jones guy? Or what's this InfoWars thing? Because I am a large fan of InfoWars. I have been for many, many years. We still listen to the show, daily. And so he definitely inspired us. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, man, I don't feel like I'm getting my voice heard, and so I'm just kind of going back to when Yecca proposed the idea, where it was like a breath of fresh air, and being out there with everyone when we go to these rallies, whenever we go to these events, and we're interviewing people. I mean, these people truly touch us, and like we can feel the love from them and the support from them when we're interviewing them. We went to the Capitol one day when we first kind of were trying to do man on the street, testing out mics and testing out stuff that we had. And we ran into a group of women, and they were so ecstatic to see us out there trying to get their take. They were a little uneasy. They were like, "Who are you with? Who are you guys?"
Because we weren't wearing any Trump clothes or anything,
Right.
And we couldn't, they couldn't tell what vibe we were giving off.
Yeah, but when we left there, and granted, that footage, the mic was not on. And so all of it was a wash, pretty much. I'm sure that you've experienced something like that.
I'm the king of bad footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was upsetting for us. We went home and we sobbed away about it because it was so great. But
it would have been the perfect first interview, but
good.
There's no such thing as perfect.
But so. I think honestly, God wanted us to have that story, humbling experience. Yeah. And they were actually doing
some sort of walk for God,
prayer for Trump,
prayer
and they were walking around the whole Capitol praying.
Nice.
For Trump, and it was just there was no event happening.
It was just a group of 5 ladies just doing their own thing. Mm-hmm.
Right. That's those type of things. I mean, I can't describe. I mean, you talk a lot about God, but I can't describe the synchronicity of how I have been put in places. Just like a piece on a puzzle, just it just fits. It just happens. A lot of my videos happen that way. I run into people, just all over the place, and I don't know. It's some of the things, like, I guess before I ever started Pirate InfoWars, before I had a website, neocrusader.com, and I still do. But I've sort of laid off of it. I focused everything. Once the banning starts, I thought, well, let's start that ship, and let's get as much as I can out there. I was on my way back from WVU, and I just dropped my son off. The banning had just happened, all that, and I stop at a store for gas, and I'm wearing the InfoWars in your face T-shirt, and that was I hear this guy yell "Free Alex Jones" just across. I mean, it was crazy, and that was my first man on the street. He at that point he was so intimidated that he had a YouTube channel. He didn't want to get banned. He didn't want to anger anybody. But if you watch it, it's on my YouTube. But that was my first man on the street, and it will stick with me for the rest of my life. The guy in D.C., yelling, he was, from the Middle East, I believe Egypt, yelling, "Thank you, President Trump," fervently. Those things will stick with me for the rest of my life. But what are some of your most memorable man on the street events? I saw one lady, she was talking about how her bank account had been.
Marie? Was that
so,
Marie?
Oh, Maria, yeah.
Oh, she is so great.
Oh yeah, we love her.
She is definitely a huge impact on us.
Yeah.
Just spiritually.
Yeah, definitely. We really have a strong connection with Maria. She comes up from Houston to Austin to the rallies on Saturday for the Stop the Steal rallies. And last time we saw her, she came up by herself. She said she doesn't normally even drive, but her husband had to work, and so he couldn't drive her, and so she drove all the way up from Houston by herself.
Yeah.
To stop the steal.
Our first video with her that you can find on our YouTube channel was she had gone there for a prayer. I think she said they were doing a prayer for Trump event somewhere here in Austin, and she went to it, and then she drove by the rally. And she was like, "Oh my gosh." And so she stopped and she attended the rally. And that's whenever we got I was walking by to get some B-roll of kind of the whole event, and I saw her talking to somebody very passionately, and I stopped her and I said, can we get your message out there? Can we do that? And she was like, oh, yes, and I said, okay, go. And I mean, everything you see, nothing was pre-rehearsed. We hadn't talked to her before, or anything. We hadn't met her, and she just unloaded. I mean, that video was,
it was perfect.
Gosh,
it went so well.
It was so good. And I've watched that video, even though I was there, maybe like a dozen times or something, because it's so good. And and then we saw her again the following, or 2 weeks, I think, later or something. And she was telling us that she went to DC.
Yeah, or no, she's going to go. She went to DC. She went to DC this last Saturday, she said. And
she cried and begged her husband.
Yes, this last time we saw her,
she wanted to be there so bad.
She was saying that they disabled her YouTube account or something like that because they didn't give her any reason. They didn't give her a reason.
She didn't use her. She was not active on YouTube.
We didn't even post her name. We didn't tag her or anything in that video. Our videos of her are still up. They didn't do anything with our account, but they disabled her personal YouTube account, and they also weren't letting her make donations to the Trump campaign. Her bank, I believe she said,
Bank of America.
Yeah, Bank of America was not letting her donations go through, and it was crazy.
She ended up getting to donate eventually.
She had to call and give them a little bit of crap for not letting her payment go through. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
And it seems, I guess it broke today, National File, actually yesterday, 1.9 million Communist Party sworn members just infiltrating everywhere, including Pfizer and AstraZeneca. So line up and take your damn shots. Everybody wants that. But it's amazing. I asked Joe Biggs. I ask a lot of people. It's one of my favorite questions. But do you all recall that moment when you realized there actually was this Orwellian dark cancer that's just eating away at the soul of America? Do you recall that moment in your life?
For me, I do. I had always kind of, thought that, but the one moment was when it was I was actually pretty young when the internet was still kind of a new thing, but I was on the internet and I came across, some page that said, I don't remember the exact title, but it was something along the lines of 10 secrets the government is keeping from you, and I'm reading it, and as I'm reading it, all of these things are just clicking. And I'm like, I knew it, I knew it. Nobody ever told me these things, but I could just see the lies, on TV. And just ever since then, that was just like a confirmation that all these beliefs that I had that, my gut was telling me was true. And ever since then, I've just followed my gut. And it was such a long time ago before I even knew what the word conspiracy theory was. I never had even heard I've never even heard of that. And it was crazy. But I don't remember how old I was, but I know I was probably in my teens.
Right.
I don't. I honestly was living a blasé. I wasn't involved in anything, and maybe when I was 22 or so, I had met Don Salazar, a writer for InfoWars, and I think he had just gotten on or something, and a friend of mine knew him, and he had brought over a magazine, an InfoWars magazine, and they had who was labeling GMO foods and things like that, and I was drinking Horizon milk at the time. Right. And Horizon Milk was one of the brands that was against labeling or not labeling. And I was like, what? Well, that's odd. What's going on? And so really InfoWars is very near and dear to me because they did wake me up.
Right.
I did start to look into things after that, and I have literally changed my life completely around because of that one moment. I started looking into it. Started with food, and I just kind of was like, oh wow, there are these secrets everywhere. What's going on? And it kind of woke me up and looking into other things, and then Bohemian Grove, and then I was watching all of these videos, and I was really, I mean, it was a lot to take
Right.
in, and I have just continued to do that and pass it down, and I do have kids also, and so that was the reason why I was changing it, because I was thinking, oh man, I don't want to give them all of these chemicals or these things. And my son, he hears us a lot, and he says, he's like, oh, the dirty Democrats, it's the cutest thing.
Right.
But yeah, I think just looking at the future, the children of the future, and how we can change things and inspire and get the truth out, because if we don't, then we really are headed towards just this disastrous road, which I feel like we are sort of on, but we haven't given up the fight. I certainly haven't given up the fight, and I think getting our voice out there and starting this is huge, and everybody should be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think more people are starting to wake up. I'm amazed that as many people are, as there are out there that are still, I guess, asleep. But you can't help but see what's going on. I mean, I hear little old ladies talking about civil war now. I mean, it's crazy. But my first experience, I guess, wasn't it wasn't a some radio host. It wasn't it was my grandmother and a Pentecostal preacher, and talking about the mark of the beast. And then my grandmother, one day we go into a grocery store, and they, the scanners, they're scanning it, and my grandma says, boy, don't ever let them put a code on you. Don't ever let them put a barcode on you. And I'm like, why, Granny? And that sort of started me down the road. And then in the 6th grade, my teacher, and it was 1984, she assigned me the book report in 1984. So I soaked that in as a teen, and it's like a zombie movie at that point. It's sci-fi. It's The Running Man, and now, well, hey, it's like if you were watching a zombie movie, or if and you think to yourself, this could never happen. This is just fiction. And then all of a sudden you hear somebody say, well, this person's been bit, and and then you start seeing them walk down the street, and I mean, it's all happening. It's there. It's in the open.
It might as well be that scenario, It
Yeah,
might as well be
in
that.
a way.
It feels that way 100%.
Yeah, I think it actually is really, like, not literal, but we definitely have zombies out there, especially in a lot of big cities. Probably not Austin, but when I go back to Houston, a lot of times I go to the store, and I'm a generally happy person, and before the masks, I would smile, I would say hi to people, even if I didn't know them. But when I go to Houston, for example, I just walk around and everybody just looks sick and dead inside and sad, just a straight face. They're not looking at anybody. They're just looking down at their phone. And they're literally zombies, just empty inside, and it's crazy.
I snapped on a little old lady yesterday, or not yesterday, but 2-3 days ago, and I didn't mean to, but when we got banned on Facebook, I knew it was going to happen. I knew that the time was going to come. I guess an algorithm flagged me, and they cut us. And so I'm like, I'm done with this part of it. Forget it. It's going to happen, but whatever. And so I stop at a TJ Maxx on the way home, and like I walk in, and this little old lady standing there, and she's got her masks, and she's counting people. And she said, "Do you have a mask?" I said, "No, I don't need a mask." And I went to walk in, and she's like, she said, "You got to have a mask." And I said, I just stopped, and I was like, "Do I need to leave? Do I need to leave?" And she was like,
Oh, no.
no. And so I'm walking through, and I feel like an asshole. And finally, I go back and I apologize to her on the way out, and I say, "Well, thank you for not telling me to leave, but I probably should have anyway." But
yeah, I had someone tell me also, and I was I hate the position that it puts us in, where we are so defensive to just be normal. I was in HEB too, and I saw the the news article that said HEB isn't gonna crack down as hard, and I said,
Sure.
"Oh, great." And we went to HEB, and we were going in, and I'm like, "Oh gosh, we're gonna have to wear these masks." And I have a mask, but it's made of mesh. I sewed it myself, and I'll wear it if I absolutely, if I just can't deal or handle. And we're going in, and she's like, "I have a medical condition," and she just walks right in, and I was like,
Right.
"I do too." I was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this."
But it's so sad that we're in these times that we have to defend ourselves just to be normal, just to breathe air. We just want to breathe oxygen in, and I have to make something up. For me, I always say I'm my own doctor, so I just say, "Oh, my doctor recommends I don't wear a mask."
My doctor recommends I breathe.
Which to me is true because I've been my own doctor for years. So, but it's still, it's just, I hate that we're put in this position where we have to defend our right just to breathe oxygen. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I agree. I have a Spartan helmet that I modified with a motorcycle face helmet. So with a face shield. So I had a little bit of fun with that. A lot of people were giving me thumbs up. I went through Walmart. I tried to eat, some tortillas with it. It was great. It was great.
Yeah,
but, I think I did some soul searching this weekend, and here's what I've come up with personally, and then we'll move on. But I think, for the sake of being a good person, just for the sake of saying, you know what, I'm going to be a good person. I'm not going to put another little old lady in that position, but I have the right to choose who I do business with. If I don't need to do business with you, if you think that's it, hit them in the wallet. A very wise man told me that, and I'm going to stick to that. Just don't shop there. Don't do it. When I go into work, I'm going to go ahead and counterpunch with the coming vaccination mandate, and the talk now that your employer has a right to tell you you've got to go take a vaccine. I am blessed enough I can work from home remotely. I don't ever have to be a vector for them. I can do it from the house and be fine. But I need to know, and I suggest everybody do that. And I'm just going to end my rant there. But
mm-hmm. Well, there's so many more options. This is what I don't understand. When this whole thing kicked off, at the very beginning, I was going to go get a gift for a birthday party, and I hate Walmart 100%. I do not go to Walmart unless I absolutely have to. But on that day, I did go to Walmart to go run in and get, a bicycle, and I needed to go to the bathroom, so I parked my cart in the magazine area, and I cut through like kind of the cigarette aisle to go to the restroom. When I was walking, this guy looked over at me and he goes, "What the, can I cuss on here?"
Okay, go for it.
He goes, "What the fuck?" And I said, "Oh no, he thought I was trying to cut him in line." And he was a big guy, really big. I'm 5'1", he was a really big guy. And I thought he thought I was trying to cut. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I just ran to the bathroom because I wasn't wearing a mask. And it wasn't a mandate at that time. I don't think right off the bat it was. And I was washing my hands, and I remember seeing a woman coming out of the stall with this big white, medical mask on. And I was like, oh gosh, how disgusting for someone to be using the bathroom with this mask on. And I'm coming out of the bathroom, and I'm going back the way that I came. And the guy's like, "Put a fucking mask on. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I turned around and everyone in Walmart is staring at me. And I had when I was washing my hands, my sister called me on a video chat. So I answered and I was like talking, or I was like, hey, how's it going? And this guy's yelling at me and my sister's on the phone. She's like, what's going on over there? What's going on over there? And I was like, I don't know. Some guy's yelling at me about putting on a mask, and he was calling me stupid and you're going to get everyone sick and all this stuff. And I turned around and I said, hey, if you don't, if you're so scared,
Right.
why are you in Walmart?
Yeah.
Out of all the places you can be, you're at Walmart, dude. I said, go to www.walmart.com and order your shit online. Okay. Order it online. They'll drop it off at your door, but all the places you want to be in the cesspool of Walmart.
In West Virginia, see, the rub there is that I'm more afraid of getting my ass beat for wearing a mask than not wearing a because I mean, but in all seriousness, it's I mean, some of these guys, they they're just not going to do it, and I totally respect that. Now, that being said, I believe in personal, your right to dictate what happens on your personal property. If you're a business owner, you can say that, you can do that, but again, I don't have to go along with it. I can look for employment elsewhere. I mean, that's capitalism. That's the beauty of the free market. And so, I just think it's so strange. I mean, I've thought about wearing like maybe some chicken wire over my face and saying,
that's basically what my mask looks like. Just so
right. It's going to catch just about as much COVID. So if that makes you feel good, that's fine. I'll throw some chainmail over my head and we'll all call it good. But
you still get Karens, even when I'm wearing that at I went to this bar arcade that they have down here. And we went in and we really clicked with the security, and we were, we got memberships because they have, as long as you're drinking your drink, you don't have to have your mask on. So we go straight to the bar, we get a drink, and I'll sip on it all night. I'll put it in my mouth and carry it around, whatever I have to do not to wear a mask. Right. And when I went in, a guy behind me saw my mask, and you can literally see my nose and my mouth through my mask. And he was like, hey, and he's like trying to tell the security guard to come and get me because of my mask.
Right.
And then later on, the security guard came out to me and he was like, your mask is fine. He was like, I wish I could wear that mask. I can't even breathe out of this thing. Right. So I mean, it also puts people like that in a compromising position because they need their job.
They do.
But and at the same time, I would do what they would do. I would say, if you had to enforce it, I would say, excuse me, you have to wear a mask in here. And if somebody said something like, I'm not going to wear a mask, or I have a medical condition, or I would just say, okay, because that's above my pay grade to argue with you or to try to push this rule on you. If you really want me to wear a mask, go get your manager, and then I'll have a conversation with him.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, again, it ends when we all say no. I know people who are dying, who actually, I have family members right now who they just woke up out of a coma, to see what they want to do because her lungs are failing her, because the respirator. I mean, I could go into it. It's the same old story. Everybody knows about the respirators, what they do. But, it's, and that's the infuriating thing as well, is that they use every good lie has to have that thread of truth that you weave every other thing around.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And so, there has to be something there to scare the people. And then they come in, they use this perceived crisis, same old song and dance, never let a, good crisis go to waste, blah, blah, blah. But let's talk about fighting it. Talking about conspiracy theorists, and you all have invoked, God. And God uses, the people that he uses. If he can place me in somewhere that I know I did for him, he can put anybody out there to do it, but I think we first have to let him and call upon him. And how important is it? I mean, it sounds like the lady that you interviewed, that she made a big impact on you. How important is it that we, as patriots, invoke God? We call upon God, when we're resisting this.
I think it's probably the most important thing, really, because God always has a plan. He is the one that is going to show us the way. I have been a believer for a really long time. I grew up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I did stop believing for a little while because I was in a church where a lot of the people that went there were very hypocritical, and so it kind of pushed me away from God for a little bit. But I came back around, and I found him years later. And honestly, I really think it's the most important thing, because it's, and even if you don't believe in God, there's a lot of people that are on the right still, and they don't believe in God, but they still believe in something, whether it's just a spirit or something like that. Whenever you ask God for guidance or whatever it is you believe in, I think it's important to ask and speak to him, because whatever you believe in, they're going to answer you back, and it's all coming from the divine source, and what's sad is that a lot of people, they're not really that connected to God, and so when they do ask for guidance or help, sometimes they don't see or hear the message, or when they hear the message, they just don't want to listen, because they're like, that's not the answer that they wanted.
I think it's maybe been twisted, and we think we can never achieve that perfect, and we can't achieve what he achieved, what Christ achieved. But see, my biggest hang up was like when they talk about the armor of God, and that's what the Bible tells us defeats these people in high places, this wickedness, these spirits. But my biggest thing was, I'm not worthy of that. I couldn't carry his armor. But then I started doing searches like on my digital Bible and things like that, and it started talking about, like, if you search for armor of God, it talks about the armor bearer more than it talks about the armor wearer. And but the plate, like the breastplate of righteousness, it's not my righteousness. I always thought, hey, I got to be righteous. It's not ever going to happen. But through him, his righteousness, if I throw that on, then hey, what can stand against me? And so
yeah. It doesn't always fit together, like you were saying, like a puzzle. And it doesn't always flow the way that you want it to flow, or the way that you think that it flows. But you just have to, you have to believe that at the end of it all, it's going to make sense to you. It's going to make sense. Everything is happening for a reason. We got together for a reason. We're on this, on the stream with you for a reason.
Sure.
We have had other offers to do it, but it just didn't feel right in those other situations.
Well, I'm honored.
For some reason,
I am honored.
It felt right with you, and there's a reason for that, and we have to keep believing, because then what else do we have,
Yeah.
And I actually attended a service at a Baptist church, a funeral service for an old coworker of mine who is very close to my cousin, best friends with my cousin actually, and she is just incredibly heartbroken. The woman that had passed away, the old coworker, old friend of mine, she had nothing wrong with her. She didn't pass from COVID. She just was repeating herself one day, and her husband noticed it, and they were on their way to the chiropractor. She was going for her normal, appointment. And she couldn't talk all of a sudden, and then he took her they called 911. The ambulance took her to the doctor. She was in ICU, and she was brain dead right away. She had brain swelling, and she passed on her birthday. She would have been 37. Wow. And so, and I went to the service, and I had my uncle was in the church very heavily when I was a kid, and so because of that, I think I was a little connected, but I really didn't get involved too much. But I'd never been to a service in that religion or that, in at a Baptist church, and it was. So I left there. My radio broke, and so I was silently driving to Lockhart, after this funeral service, and just thinking, wow, this is the power of God is incredible, and I hope that everyone kind of gets on board with it one day because it's just such an amazing feeling, and even though it was a sad time, I could still feel, they don't, usually the services that I'd gone to before, people are sobbing and they're throwing themselves on the casket but this service was just, it was like a celebration almost. And I mean, if God forbid something happens to me, that's where I want to be at that service, because it was so uplifting, even though it was such a sad moment. But it's the power of God,
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to kind of what we feel at all these rallies and protests we go. Definitely. Everybody there, or almost everybody there, believes in God. And so the energy that you feel there is just phenomenal.
Incredible.
It's incredible. It's overwhelming sometimes.
In DC,
oh my gosh, yeah, the first Million MAGA March, that was definitely overwhelming. And just even though we're essentially in a war and we're in fighting times right now, it was so hard not to smile, and because you're just so full of the Spirit, you're so full of this passion. You're all of these people, thousands, over a million, people, like-minded people. You're all there fighting for the same cause. Right. And we don't all have the same beliefs at the same time, And so it's just the power of God, being in a huge group of people that also believe in God, just the energy and the Spirit of God is just overwhelming at those events. And that's kind of one thing, that just helps us, it makes you feel really good.
We were, that was our first big event.
Right.
And we decided to go just like, right before, I think
it was
like
literally 2 days. 2 days. It was the Thursday night is when we bought realized that we could go and we bought our tickets. I had some things I had to figure out with work, and that was my life goal that week, was to get to that event, and I was able to figure it out, and we went. We literally just went for the day. Airport, taxi to the march. We were back at our hotel very late at night, woke up 5 hours later and got back on our flight to Austin the next morning.
Oh yeah. I
don't think anybody slept that week, honestly.
No, it was insane, but that's something that can't, be overwritten. It's something that can't be silenced, is, when the president talks about the red blood of patriots, that's what it's all about. And it wasn't, you're right, all races, all religions, with one goal. And that's not letting America slip into oblivion, because that's where we're headed. That's what's going to happen if we stop. Like Racheal, like you said, if we don't speak up, then everything will go silent. You can't light that candle can't light itself, and so we have to be the fire. We have to be the spark.
We do.
Let's say, and it starts local. I think that is the part. I mean, everybody trying to figure out what's next, what happens, if Biden gets in. Well, if this is a democracy, if and Facebook said, hey, there's no fraud, so I'm good with it. Everybody should just be good with it. At this point,
ridiculous. It is
no fraud.
Ridiculous.
There's no proof. There is no evidence.
Come on, guys.
There's no evidence.
The video has been fact checked.
Yes.
It drives me crazy.
It
really drives, because like I was saying, I hear the news on my own all the time, but also I'm also always picking at Don's brain. When he gets home, I'm like, what's the news today? What did you hear today? What's the news? And it's just, we're just both on the same page where we cannot believe, where are the subpoenas for the people that are on these videos? Why are,
Hell
we
with
know
the
who they
subpoenas.
are.
Kick
We
in
know
the
who they
door.
are.
Drag their ass out. I
We
don't
know
understand it.
who they are. We know the guy with the flash drive. We know his name, right? Go get that guy. We
Hey,
know
look.
these UPS drivers and these, go get them. What are we doing?
I understand that now that this list has hit the mainstream and that genie can't be put back in the bottle. I'm volunteering right now. You give me a name and a house, and I'll go,
I think
Mr.
we'll all
President.
take a name.
I will do it. Give me a name, and let's just get it on. I just want that to happen. But I'm
the
just throwing
dead
that out there,
people
Mr.
are
President.
voting. How can we like finalize any election or anything if we know for a fact there's fraud, regardless of if you think it's just two people or one person, it's fraud.
Well, and the people who knock the doors, these people who get out in the field, they're field organizers, the people who, actually get out in the field and they see this. They knock doors, and like me, I mean, I would knock doors and they would be listed as hard blue, and I'd think, oh, this is going to be a great conversation. I'd knock the door, and the guy is an old veteran who is saying, "Thank you, President Trump. We love you. I'm a Democrat, but my party left me." And I don't think, I think West Virginia. I mean, we went completely red. We're a meme now, because everything is red here, and thank God. But we have to keep it that way. It's small. We have to start small, and you all are doing some things with the mayor and the city council there. Once we've put on the armor, once we've invoked God, talk about what you're doing locally there to make a difference with that, and how it started. What they're doing to the people and the people who are coming there to visit Austin, everything like that.
So sad to see Austin in the place that Austin is we're not Austin. We're not Austin anymore. I mean, what are we? We're a tech company.
You're
we're
Western
a tech city now or something.
Western San Francisco. You're Western.
Yeah.
San Francisco.
We're the new Cali.
Eastern San Francisco. My apologies.
We're in such a terrible position. I think we've both seen Austin slowly deteriorate, over time, and it's only progressed more since this has happened, and it's unrecognizable. I mean, the city is just ridden with homeless, and defund the police and
BLM. We have our own Black Lives Matter on the streets, and it's really gone downhill. It's gone downhill over time, but the past 3 years, it's really, really, really gotten super bad. Especially when they started busing in the homeless people over here, and the homeless people have it so good here. They get free food, free water. They have little sinks with a little foot pump at the bottom. They have porta potties.
Well, we don't want to advertise to other homeless that have internet and are watching and will be watching this. But they have it made. They really have it made. I heard a guy on the radio say that he works for the city of Austin, and we have homeless camps that you can see. Similar to the homeless camps in California, we have these tent cities here, but then we also have these deep wooded areas. And the guy that called in on the radio this morning said that he cleans up camps, and that one of the camps had 75 solar panels, and he was giving all of their little, the campsite, all of this energy, and they have like heaters, they have washing machines, they have homes out, and they're not paying rent, they're not paying for anything. But I think,
and they get hundreds of dollars a day.
Yeah.
Yes.
From panhandling.
And then the city gives them a little bit of money as well.
I tell you what, that might be a really good commercial for the tourist industry there.
Oh yeah, this is a commercial that we're doing right now for the
who
city.
needs,
Come on down.
who needs an
Washers,
Airbnb?
dryers, 100
Look,
bikes, he said, 100 bicycles. You can pick and choose. They have all
Oh
different
yeah,
sizes.
I saw in one of the tent cities actually, somebody had dragged one of those bike racks that you see in front of businesses. They had a
right.
bike rack with probably about 5 to 7 bikes right in front of their
Yeah.
tent.
So the
people-
city is going to shit, but we are not. I think that also has helped us kind of get the ball really rolling because
Right.
I don't, we are both native Texans. A lot of my life has been here in Austin, elementary school, middle school, high school. I've been here back and forth between here and Temple, which is about an hour away. And it has, just watching it just turn into this sloppy mess of a city has made me want to speak up even more. I need people to hear me. I need people to see me, and people in like the little town that I was in, they're seeing me now, or they're messaging me and great job, good job. I love what you're doing. And like you're getting messages from your followers and things like that. But
Right.
I mean, we both invested in getting our own bullhorns just this last week.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
we'll be really making some noise out here in Austin coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, there's a line in the sand. They've definitely crossed it, and now you all are the response. I mean, you're in the front lines. You're the citizen journalists. They're my favorite people on earth, and I'm glad I got to tell your story because I think it's a really interesting one. I think that I see the hand of God, kind of moving you all in the direction you all are going to go, and just trust in Him, and you'll get there. You will. How do people find you? How do people support you? You're all over the place, but what is the best way to to support your movement?
Yeah, since we're still fairly new, we're not banned anywhere. So you can find us on all social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. But I would highly recommend, we would really recommend to follow us on Parler and BitChute, because as you know, you won't get banned or censored on there. So whenever we do get censored on all of our other social media accounts, Parler and BitChute is where we'll be,
those are kind of our
we're
still
we post
holding
to
on
everything.
to the
Yeah, because you can reach a lot of people on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter still, since the majority of people are on there. But we want to make sure that we have a way to get a message out to the people. And you can also check out our website at libertyladiesofTexas.com. And Texas is spelled out.
We are doing a little bit of changes on the website right now.
It'll be ready. It'll be ready by the time this video is up. Yeah.
I just realized that my YouTube was redirecting back to my website, back to my index page. I don't know, maybe an hour ago, and it's been that way probably for 6 months. So hey, it's all good.
Well, we do upload our videos everywhere that we can, so you can find us there. We also have a little merch. A little merch shop going.
Yeah, we have an apparel shop on Teespring. I can send you the link if you want to post it with the video.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. One thing, if you can find it, that I think maybe you ought to go ahead and label and sell as merch, as you remember the from the 80s, the hats that had the drinks on the side of it.
Oh yeah.
And then you had the straw going in, and people are like, hey, you walk around with a straw in your mouth, and they're like, hey, you can't you can't be in here without a mask.
And you're like, I'm drinking
right now. So just think about it. Just think
all
about it.
right, okay.
We'll
mess around on that.
Yeah.
Just for, if anything, we'll make one just for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything you want to add before we go ahead and cut it?
Yeah, I definitely want to send a message out to everybody to follow God, ask him for his help and guidance, because I truly believe he is the one that guided us here to each other and to be on this mission together. And he's definitely helping pave the way for lots of other patriots to do the same thing. I love seeing that this is a growing trend of just self-made journalists and news reporters. I think it's great, but I also think that there's still not enough of us, and we need a lot more people out there on the streets doing reports, just taking videos, going out.
You don't have to have all this fancy equipment.
You just have to have a phone with a camera, which everybody has. And you can just go out there and make some noise, call your congressman, go to the rallies, even talking to people in the store that you don't know, just sharing your ideas with other people. So many people are just used to looking at their phone all the time or talking with people via the internet and Messenger, and just get out there and talk to people in real life.
Right.
And I would definitely like to also say thank you so much to all of our current supporters and all of our future supporters. It means so much to us.
Yes.
I mean,
without them,
unreal.
It really drives us to just keep putting more content out there and just to keep pushing forward. And all the supportive words and comments and likes and shares, it really, really means a lot to us. Even though it's just a simple button click, just one little click, it really does help us spread our message.
Sure. Technology, I've always said, it's that double-edged sword. I mean, what they cut us with, we can cut them back with. And until the point when the people who were using the cameras who didn't believe us to begin with start seeing their content get censored, and what they see actually happening in real life being told that didn't happen, it's not true, then they'll wake up. But
yeah, definitely. We like to say, what is our saying here?
Oh, yes. So Racheal came up with this. So I came up with the name. She came up with our slogan. And so our slogan is, where liberty goes,
freedom follows.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. The Liberty Ladies of Texas. Ladies, thank you for coming on the Powder Monkey podcast. It was great. And keep fighting the good fight and carry that torch.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Purple shrines on our head. Fina Barberton makes us dead. To heaven's gate we will go. So climb aboard.
For God, for country, for truth, for justice, for the Republic. You're listening to the Powder Monkey Podcast on PirateInfoWars.com.
The calm is coming, it's getting near. Our conscience numbing, we have no fear. I called my friends up and they're all here. We're putting in vodka, yeah.
Where was that?